Hey everybody, welcome to part 3 for the restoration of this Oliver 1855. If you haven't seen some of the other episodes or when I bought it last year, I'll give you just a little catch-up session here. We sold this tractor new from our dealership to the neighbors, and they farmed with it for years and years and years. Then about the last 10 years, it sat because they didn't realize it had gotten water on top of a piston. They tried pull starting in it because it couldn't crank over. And there's a piece of the head gasket. Not sure well that's gonna show up. Hear it? Hear it? It blew the head gasket right out the side between the head and the block. So it's gonna get a complete tear down of the engine and a rebuild. I've got a lot of parts on hand already for it. We'll see how things are. I've even got a reconditioned head from another 310 Oliver turbo engine. So if for some reason the head ain't good on this one, I'm good there. Got another crankshaft around if for some reason this one ain't good. Rods, pistons, sleeves. I'm pretty good to go. Been trying to buy this one for a few years now, ever since they just parked it, and finally got it done last year, and now this winter it's going to be the restoration project. So we'll get the A-frame rolled over here and start tearing things down. Got the fuel tank drained. I get the I know the radiator's drained. I wasn't sure what was in there, so I just took the drain right out so everything could drain right out 100%. And so I can get the radiator off and work towards getting the engine out and start disassembling on that so we can see how bad things are and what all I need to have done to it. Those are some crusty looking bolts. We'll be getting new ones for that. I like to leave those plated. That plated shiny just kind of really sets things off nice. Little touches like that kind of really spruce up a restoration. And they were that way from the factory. The large frame tractors have 6 bolts. 4 of the longer ones, 2 of the shorter ones in the back, 1650s and 1550s and 55 series. They've just got the 4 in the front. They don't have any farther back in. Don't forget the wiring, the lights. I'm just going to cut these lines that go to the cooler for the over and under, which is on the left, my left, it'd be the tractor's right, because they are going to get replaced when it's all said and done anyways. Okay, that was a little loose. And then I'll replace these ones for the hydraulic cooler as well. Probably just cut those as well, it'd be just as easy. Put this over something it can drain into. A bucket. Let's see what that turbo looks like. Turbo-y. Non-turning. Oh my God, that thing's tight. I think we'll be doing something with that. Wonder how long that's been set up. Tank is out. That'll make things a little easier to get through to down in here. Actually doesn't feel that bad, but I'll still put a new couplers and chains on it. Ain't gonna get any easier. Oh, those don't look too bad. I guess we'll know better when we get them out. For everything else I'm putting into it, that's a small expense. Got the brake controller, or brake valve, steering motor, dirt. I thought I'd throw in something that I found interesting. I've owned this 1955 for, I don't know, several years now. And I got the build card on it. You can get that at floydcountymuseum.org. There's information on that webpage. I'll put a link down in the description. And but in the build card, among other things, it tells you how the tractor was built, and it tells you the day it rolled off the assembly line and where it was shipped to and when it was shipped. And this 1955 was rolled off the line on June 3rd of 1974, and it was shipped to Cohocton, Michigan, which the dealer there was R.E. Peckins, Cohocton. And so that's pretty neat that it's a relatively local tractor. They were a couple hours drive from here to the northeast. And so got checking the records for the 1855, and we sold that one here at our dealership at Vernlosi & Son. And it was built June 10th of 1974, exactly 1 week before that 1955. They were both Monday tractors, so I hope that doesn't set them off on the wrong foot or something. But I just kind of thought that was neat. Kind of thought, well, that'd be cool if they happened to be sitting at the factory at the same time, both bound for Michigan. Who knows, might have made the same truck, but nope. The 1955, built June 3rd, shipped June 5th. The 1855 was built June 10th, so there was 5 days that had already been on its way. I'm sure the 1955 was already in Michigan by the time this one rolled off the line. But still, pretty much litter mates. So I just kind of thought that was a neat little bit of the history on the tractors. I'm going to take off some of these accessories while the engine's still in the tractor. Just a little more solid than the engine stand and a little higher. So just easier to work on. Still wondering if this turbo seized up when it was still running, if it seized up from sitting. It's been inside pretty much all the time. Plus had something over the exhaust. My money's on that it was already seized up. Oh, look at the crust. Boy, she's tight. I put a wrench on it. That freed it up. So it probably was just from sitting. Still got some wobble in it. Well, it's not going to go back on. I mean, it's going to get a turbo. It's just not going to get this turbo. I might have to loosen an injector line or two. There we go. Now from the, especially down in there. Come on. The rust in those two holes. You can kind of see which ones the water went down. Not to mention the head gasket blown out right there and there. It's a little more normal up to the front, just sitting. I haven't even tried to turn the engine over. Okay, for kicks and grins, I'm going to put a wrench on the front of this crankshaft and see if the engine turns over at all. Oh my God, not that way. Yeah, she tight. Well, now we know the answer to that. I think I'll take the starter off and take injection lines off. Now that the manifold's off, if you're ever doing an injector job, it's a lot easier. I think you pretty much have to take the manifold off. I guess I can't say I've ever tried leaving it on that I can remember. Especially up in this area where the exhaust elbow is, or turbocharger, depending on which version of the 310. But they come up at an angle and it's just a lot easier. And usually these manifolds don't come off too bad, just because somewhere in their history someone's done an injector job and pulled the manifold off. Basically get it to this point, take your injector lines off and the returns, and then take the bolt out and pry them on out, which we'll get to. That'll probably be easier while it's here in the tractor as well. So get the starter off, get the lines off, and normally for the injection pump you would open this window and line up timing marks. Since the engine does not turn over on this one, we're not going to do that, and I'm going to send the pump in to get checked out, rebuild anyways. So that's kind of a moot point. It doesn't have to be timed since it's a total tear down and total rebuild. But normally you'd crank it over. There's one line that doesn't move, the one it does. You just keep barring the engine over until the two lines line up. And then you can take the pump off and take it to your favorite injection shop or try it yourself. I don't do that. But and just if you don't bump the engine when you put it back in and get those marks lined back up, you should be golden. Okay, there's a bolt on the back side of that starter. It's hard to get to. And we've had this wrench around forever, and it is not it wasn't built this way. Some ancestor or mechanic that worked for one of my ancestors heated it up and bent it to make it work. I also have this one, which doesn't work too bad. Don't know if this one's customized or not, but it's the bolt back in there, and this wrench also works great for the bolt back in there on the injection pump. And I always take this one out first, because then hopefully it'll get finger loose and you can spin it out. Whereas if you take out this one last and it's holding the starter up, you're fighting its odd position and the weight of the starter. Ta-da! There's that one. The other two are easy to get to. Well, that part looks okay. Injector lines are usually pretty easy. Generally, these pencil style injectors aren't worth rebuilding, so I always just replace, but I guess they are rebuildable. But I've always been told just buy the new ones. Rust. And no locking wires on the retaining bolts. It's always not good to see, but it is what it is. They apparently held. They're not loose. So now I need to get these 3 bolts off with the special wrench, at least that one. And they're long enough, you almost got to kind of work your way around, draw it back, or the nuts will hit the housing there. Or you can't get your box end on and off, so let's do that. Using this multi-bent wrench, but it's doing the job. I'll pull that line off so it don't poke me again. Get that one loose. And this other one's close enough. I'm gonna have to use an end wrench on that, but at least I can reach it. There. Now I got the bottom one loose enough, I can reach my finger in there and turn it. Move it out just a little bit to get these nuts all the way off. There goes the inside bottom. The outside bottom had a regular nut on it, which isn't as deep. Oh, there's that exhaust bolt, or exhaust nut that I dropped. Okay, I need to get a bucket under here, because there's going to be some fuel when I let that baby go. Now let's see where all it goes. Should just slide right out. There's a seal on the shaft that keeps the fuel out of the crankcase. And once you get to that point, then the fuel comes out. And there's the pump. I will drain this out, and then I can take it to the pump shop. If for some reason you're just taking your pump off, not to work on the pump, but for whatever reason, if you're going to pull it off from there, make sure the lever is pulled to the back, and like take a rubber band or a zip tie and zip tie it to this or whatever, because there's a piece inside there that can fall out of place when the throttle lever moves forward. And when you get it back to the pump shop, it'll be fixed back. But yeah, if you're taking it off and not going to work on your pump and just going to put it back on, tie that. But I know this one's going to get torn apart. Now the shaft can just come right out the front. Oh yeah, there's a little surface rust there. She's been sitting for a while. When you go back together, and we'll cover that in later videos as far as that goes, but there's a dot on one side of this shaft, and it lines up with the one on the other end. So you got to make sure you get that right. And there's these seals. Like I say, that'll be in the video where it goes back together. This little spring-loaded plunger just rides against a little brass piece built into the cover and keeps the shaft back so it can fall out. It's just a spring and a plunger, so watch out for that. Each injector usually has a wire, usually a wire clamp at the bottom of each injector boot, and a lot of times they get replaced with little hose clamps like this. Not a big deal. Just loosen them all up, which I've taken the liberty of already doing. Oh, yeah, these things get brittle. Just plan on replacing them. And I'm actually going to try the, I guess John Deere has a kit. They use these same injectors in some of their engines. And uses brass compression fittings and stuff, and I guess a lot more durable than these rubber boots. But seeing as they're right by the exhaust manifold, they get baked pretty good. There really isn't much point in even trying to save them. Wow, that one actually, there goes the clamp. This one actually came off in one piece. It helps to give them a little twist to break the grip on the injector. Oh, let's pull one out, see how easy they come out. 1/2-inch head bolt. Screw that out. Got that done all the way. Yeah, not coming out too bad. Normally I'd say get this dirt out of here. She's getting disassembled. Well, shouldn't be a surprise. These back two are being troublemakers back where the head gasket was blown. I might let them soak for a little while. Give them a little bit here and see what they're tight. You don't want to break them off in a hole. That's bad. I mean, the head's coming off on this, so it's not as bad. I could try to drive it out from the other end. Oh man, hear that? Maybe I'll let these soak. That came out easy enough. Yeah, they're pretty tight in there. I'm sure with the fluid, rain, water, whatever water was in there, it's corroded them, got squeezed up in there from the hydraulic pressure. So I'm gonna let these soak for a while. Hopefully the penetrating oil gets down in there and helps free things up. If they're still being buggers, I might wait until I get the head off and try tapping them from the other side, because I'm not gonna save them, but I do want to save the head. One thing I like to do, and I'll have to take them back off later, but just kind of help keep track of stuff, is spin nuts and bolts back on where they came from, especially in partial jobs where you're not necessarily going as far as this engine is. I mean, these starter bolts will have to come back out to separate the bell housing, but for now, they're where they're supposed to be. I can keep track of them. Let me turn this light on. There's the fire ring. Woo. Yeah, that head gasket blew in a big way. And then something else I noticed, see that line running right, oops, right there. This valve cover has been over tightened. It's cast iron, and it's got its limits, and you tighten it too much and it'll crack. So we'll have to do something about trying to either seal that up or finding a good one. Maybe my brother can braze it. Guess we'll see what our options are and go from there. I think that's a good point to call it a video. There'll be lots of installments on this, so there'll be plenty more to see. I appreciate everybody watching, and stay tuned for some bonus footage of my latest toy. Thanks for watching. Bonus footage, bonus footage. I got a new piece of equipment for the farm, and it's not an Oliver, amazingly enough. And I'm gonna get it pulled in the barn here before the storm comes in. And why, Herman's probably as good as anybody to do it. He could use a little air in his front tires too. So let's do a cold start, Herman. Try out this new sheet metal. Let's see if the battery I stuck in them is up to doing this. It ain't sounding like this battery's got a lot of oomph to it. Might have to do a trade. Yeah. Get something a little better. Okay, take two. Bigger, better battery. Nothing. We'll give it a moment for that heat to soak in. Hate to give it the nose candy. That, and I think I'm out of nose candy for tractors. I just don't keep it on hand. And if I do, I usually use it as brake cleaner, but that kind of keeps you from using it if you don't have it. Try her again. Thinking. Ah. And then the phone's ringing. Okay, it's been a few minutes. I had to take a phone call. Let's see if that heat build up in there and it'll fire up now. Close. It's just, well, it has been below freezing, and we were up into the mid 40s, although, yeah, it's about 45, I think. But he's cold. Guess I need to hold the starter just a skosh longer.